Hi everybody, I am not Evan Ronan because Evan Ronan is a pen name. So in this video I just want to spend a few minutes talking about pen names, go into some specifics about why I have used this pen name, and hopefully that'll help you if you're struggling with a decision on how to move forward. Hopefully my experience can shed some light for you. So why did I use a pen name? There were a couple reasons. Number one, historically I'd say I've been a very private person, less and less so now. Obviously I'm doing videos and putting my face on the internet more. But the other major reason was when I started publishing 2 years ago on Amazon, I was working for a very large organization at the time, and my career was progressing both nicely and pretty rapidly. I had gotten 2 promotions within a very short period of time, plucked out of the trenches, so to speak, moved into management, and then moved into more and more of a leadership role. During that time, my primary function at the company was a client-facing one. So on a daily basis, I was interacting with the client representatives. In other words, I was the face of the organization for one of its major accounts, arguably its biggest account. So externally, that's what I was doing, and then internally, I was interacting with the vice presidents and senior leadership of the organization on a pretty much a daily basis. So I'm not a mind reader. I obviously don't know, and I'll never know how they would have actually felt had they known I was writing fiction on the side. But what I tried to do was put myself in both the company's shoes as well as the client's shoes, and imagine what it might be like if they had been to discover I was doing this on the side. Again, I was doing it after hours, late at night, losing sleep, because it was something I was very passionate about and am very passionate about. But I figured if the client found out about it, the subject matter of the work that I was doing for them and for the company was very, very far removed from what I was doing for the client, so that there was really no kind of logical connection between the two. I feared that the client, if they had discovered, they would have said, "Oh, this guy writes paranormal thrillers and experimental zombie short stories and YA books with cursing in them," and I just didn't know how they would take it. And putting myself in their shoes, if I was a client and I had to choose between 2 people representing me at a company, right? And the first one, that was all they did. They were 100% of the time of their day and night focused on the client. That's one person. And then the other person was, 100% focused on the client during working hours, but then after working hours, really pursuing this other thing. If I'm in the client's shoes, who am I going to want? Obviously, I'm probably going to prefer the person, that first person who isn't writing on the side. Same deal with the folks internally at the company. I didn't know how they would react, and maybe I'm wrong and they wouldn't have reacted this way at all, but they had obviously liked the work I was doing because I was progressing very nicely through the company, and they were giving me more and more responsibility. So what would have happened if they found out I was writing on the side? Well, they might have said to themselves, "This guy, he does good work, but he's really interested in writing, and if one of his books becomes a hit or if several of them do really well, he's a flight risk. Maybe he'll leave us. And do we really want to spend time developing someone who is really going after this other thing?" Now, what I'm presenting here is actually a false choice. I was very dedicated to my job and worked long and hard and many hours, and I gave it my all. And then when I got home at night and after we put the kids to bed, I would write, or I would get up extra early and I would write. So, the thinking from the possible thinking from the management of the company as well as the client was that this was an either or situation. Either he's going to do this really well or this really well, but he can't do both. And I feared that they would make that false choice when evaluating me. And that would obviously limit me in my career and really be unfair. So I guarded against that possibility by just adopting a pen name and keeping it to myself and still doing the best I could for the company and the client and working my tail off for them. So those were really my reasons for using a pen name, kind of privacy, and then the professional career. I didn't want to change any of the dynamics, I guess you would say, between me and my supervisors as well as my relationship with the client I was serving. There's good positives and negatives to using a pen name. Obviously, you can guard your privacy a little bit better. I think in this day and age, if somebody wants to find out something about you, they are more than likely going to find out about you. So I don't know in this age of the internet how well you can guard your personal and private life anymore. But there are some benefits to pen names. So if you're working in specific genres, you might want to adopt a male or a female name because of the readership of those particular genres or the niches you're writing in. Mainstream thrillers tend to be dominated by male authors, and that is a predominantly male readership. And statistically speaking, rightly or wrongly, men tend to prefer male writers, and women tend to prefer women writers, probably not to the same extent that men have a bias, but there is a bias there, I think, in both genders. Cozy Mysteries is a good example. That's a predominantly female readership, and that's mostly female authors working in that genre. So depending on what genre you want to work in, you can pick a gender-specific pen name or even a gender-neutral pen name. So, like with the Harry Potter books, J.K. Rowling was J.K. Rowling, and when she first started out, not too many people knew it was a she, and I think that was very intentional on her part. So those are a couple reasons. Some of the negatives to writing under pen names is that it just becomes, well, I should say, speaking from my own personal experience, it becomes a bit of a administrative nightmare after a while. So I've written under Evan Ronan as well as a couple other pen names, which I'm not going to divulge. But for each pen name, you have an email address, a website, a blog, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, mailing list. All these things kind of add up for each pen name. So for each one, you're adding 4 or 5 different social media activities that you're going to have to stay on top of. And that really adds up after a while. For me, I found that it just became unmanageable. I have a limited amount of time each day to devote to writing, and I want to spend as much of that as I can producing content as opposed to doing social media for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different pen names. Other people can do this really well. Historically, I have not been one of them, but I do know a few other authors who write under just a multitude of pen names, and somehow they're able to keep all these plates spinning. I haven't quite figured that out. I think for my own sanity moving forward, I might write under my real name, and I'll probably continue to write under the pen name of Evan Ronan because I have a readership under that name. It is a brand, so to speak, so readers expecting a certain type of book know what they're going to get when they open up and Evan Ronan book. Why will I write under my real name? Well, I left my company. I loved my job for most of the time I was there. Things changed pretty dramatically there. It became a very different place, and I decided to go all in with my writing and write full time. I'm able to do this because I have an incredibly supportive wife and family. My wife is working, so she is carrying the proverbial torch right now, so to speak, while I pursue writing full time. So that's it. That's a wrap. Again, I am not Evan Ronan, but you can reach me at my author email address, ronaniswriting@gmail.com. Please remember to click subscribe to this channel so you can get these videos as I push them out. And give your pen name some thought, especially if you're in a similar situation that I was in. You have a good job. You don't want to change anyone's perception of you unfairly. It might be a good idea to utilize a pen name while you're working, just to keep your two lives as separate as you can. That helped me while I was working. So that's all for today. Like I said, please reach out if you have any questions. The email address again is ronaniswriting@gmail.com. Thanks, everyone.